Good day, everyone. My name is Joshua von Noctis, and I'd like to welcome you back to my channel. The dark heart of memories long forgotten beats loudly within the chamber of the soul. Myriad illusions of what may or may not happen dance amongst the paintings of events long past. It is within this chamber that I wish to focus today's video on. Others have given their testimony on why they walked down the desert path unto Kemeticism. I thought to grab a quill and add my story to the book. But before we begin, please forgive the absence of video this time around. If you like visuals, here's some gameplay of a Smite match I recently did. I am a millennial. Like most of my generation, I was raised in a conservative Christian household. Jesus was our Savior and Yahweh was our God. This was the same for the neighbors around us. You didn't have a choice in the matter. You were either a born-again Christian or you were kicked out of your house. For most, every Wednesday was Bible study and every Sunday was church. I was brought up between two sets of Christianity, Baptist and Catholic. It wasn't a pretty sight. For the majority of my life, I knew nothing else. God was good and anything outside of the norm was bad. I recall one memory where I was but a boy outside a movie theater, and as I turned to my left, I saw a man in a punk outfit with a mohawk. My stomach began to ache as I saw how it wasn't normal. I was shocked by his appearance, as I had never seen anything like that before. My mother told me not to look at him, as staring was wrong. While I did my best to avert my eyes, I couldn't help but look at him, sickened, but fascinated. It didn't help he was actually attractive. I knew that I was different from other kids growing up. I was the nerdy, anorexic, skinny kid. Books and electronics were my thing. My father was so disappointed in having a nerd for a child and cursed God for it. But behind all religiously devoted homes, violence was always a thing. Rants about the Bible, freaking out over nonsensical shit. Like a lot of parents of my generation, it seemed to be first husband or wife was a trial run, then after the divorce you found your one true love. If you were to look at American culture from that time period in the 1980s onward, the family unit was just simply not sustainable. I'm guessing it was because of this idea that had been implanted in American minds and is only now being rejected. The idea of having kids at an early age, regardless of economic status. This odd push of having a bunch of kids when you're barely out of school, as if you had some social responsibility to do so, seems to be a holdover from before the Great Depression. It always seemed weird to me that a man would be socially pressured into having kids before he could have a chance to explore the world and his life. In a sense, I could understand the source of the abuse in my life. Men were not equal to women, and a bunch of societal obligations was expected of them and to do without objection. When I got taken away by societal authorities due to violence in the home, I didn't realize how much my life would change. I was a devout Christian boy, about to have my virginity taken by the state. And unfortunately, the government does not understand the concept of lube. You all have seen enough anime to know where that's going. Life was never truly peaceful before my teen years, no matter how I viewed the past. It was the small moments of respite amidst a raging storm that I held dear. For a few months after being alone amongst teens and adults who were so vastly different than me, I turned to my faith. While I was alone in my bed, I prayed to God every day to make me straight, for my parents had an inkling that I might be gay. As I entered puberty, their fears became reality. I had this belief that, because I was gay, if I had prayed hard to be straight, I'd be able to go home. Childish logic, I know, but being among foreign men and their exotic ways, I clung to the one thing that I knew: Yahweh. However, as I shifted through different governmental programs and got shuffled around from community to community, an interesting thing occurred. My faith began to crack. When I interacted with people, I would try and talk to them about Christ as a good Christian would. Recalling one incident while playing ping pong with a self-professed atheist, I asked him why he was an atheist. He just shrugged and said he had no evidence. I was a bit taken aback. Evidence was all around us. I had total belief in Yahweh. I couldn't understand why he didn't. The Bible had proven to be enough for me, why not him? Little did I know that this brief exchange would help to crack the shell that was my faith. Despite the good intentions of the men around me, I felt as if I was leading a double life. Seeing these men talk about women and worship the ground these women would walk on, and then, the moment I was alone, return to my normal self eventually caused me to have a breakdown. There was no one I could talk to about this. Self-hate and self-destruction became the norm. I wasn't a normal guy who based his value upon what his woman told him. Nor was I this effeminate child who tried to act like a woman. I just wanted someone to listen. Anyone. Even my father, who had seemed to want nothing to do with me. Most fathers in their lives want to spend more time with their kids. But what about the boys who wanted a father in their life? Grief haunted the early years of my adolescence. The brief moments of peace I obtained was when I learned about the wonderful world of books. The libraries I had access to were my temple, my place of solitude. Tales of knights in shining armor, overcoming the turmoil of kingdoms in conflict and damsels in distress. Sagas of ancient origin, depicting mythical legends of ages past. Learning about the bond between the wizard Raistlin and his brother Caramon, the bond that would change the world forever. About Belgarth the sorcerer, trained by a god in the ways of sorcery to prevent its destruction. The sword in the stone, pulled by a young boy whose destiny was written in the stars far before he was born. Enthralled by the magical words, dancing and weaving to summon arcane spells of planar magic, to whisk me away to a place far beyond the nightmare of the modern world. For those brief moments, I found what I wanted. The modern world is a monster in its own right. If I didn't believe that Apophis was aiming to devour the world, I do now. I thought the suffering of my life at the time was the hardest thing I would ever go through. Fate, in her infinite wisdom, laughed as she heard my absurdity. I'm sure her laughter could be heard echoing throughout the universe. "Oh no, sweetie," she cries. "This is just the beginning." One day, in the middle of my adolescence, the cascading light of dawn burned its fiery light into my eyes as I returned from the realm of Morpheus. The day was starting, and I could not tell you what occurred in the dreamscape, only that I felt changed. I kept to myself, and I was in my head most of the day, trying to figure out what changed. It was when someone asked if I wanted to go to church and declined that I realized what it was. I didn't believe in Yahweh anymore. For a while I sat stunned. When had this occurred? When did this start? Was I still dreaming? Did I do something wrong to no longer feel the way I did? I even tried praying to that damn bastard again, and I felt nothing. What I did feel was my love for other men growing by the day. Arms wrapped around me, embraced in forbidden warmth, a bond that no woman can understand. In a last-ditch effort to retain my past, I sat down and decided to read the Bible, from front to back, Genesis to Revelations. Every single chapter, every single verse, page by page. And I realized I hated it. I had told myself that my family was not the faith. They were adherents of the religion, but not the religion itself, and it could not be as bad as they were to me. I was wrong, and my mistake was staring right in front of me. I knew the Bible. I had always followed it. I was a good little Christian boy. It was just who I was. But after that day, I renounced Yahweh and made a pledge to stop feeling guilty about who I was. I became an atheist after that, more apathetic to religion than actually not believe in a deity. I did try being a theistic Satanist. That lasted about a month before I realized how foolish I was being and dropped it. Because of the decade I was in, tech was not as advanced as it is now in 2021. Smartphones were only for the extremely wealthy and were barely heard of before the late 2000s. Thus, fear and Christian superstition were commonplace. Wanting to know more about religion that did not include Yahweh were met with roadblocks, one after the other. Small amounts of New Age material were what I had to work with, and looking back on those now, I wish I had someone to talk to, an elder of any of the pagan faiths. Also true, Celtic recons, Kemeticism, etc. Instead, I bought into the idea of bastardized Wicca and went with it, despite never feeling connected with any of the gods that I prayed to. Perhaps I was doing something wrong? Those years were trying and tiring. I could never sit still with any of the European-based faiths. The closest I came to was being a Celtic New Ager who worshipped the Morrigan, because as we all know, masculinity in a New Age movement is practically non-existent, so goddess, here I come. Over the years, I was allowed small visits from my father and relatives. I normally avoided those visits, having my eyes finally opened to what they had done to me. I was 18 and my father came to visit, and for some odd reason, I allowed the visit. A counselor was nearby, dealing with someone else on the phone. My father was making small talk, given that we really didn't have anything in common besides the Lord. He knew I had something to say to him, given how anxious I was. So I told him the truth. I'm gay. In movies, when a character dies, it is often shown by their facial expressions and the eyes darkening, as if the soul had been called back to the afterlife, the mortal coil gone. This was my father. Killing his favorite dog would probably have shocked him less, but the counselor and I knew he disapproved, and when he told me he didn't, we both knew he was lying. This was then followed by the oft-asked question when someone leaves the faith. But you still believe in Jesus, right? When I told him no, the knife that was in his heart twisted and turned. I couldn't be his son. No way would God give him a gay son. He ended up leaving after that, saying he would see me later. At last, the day I was allowed to return home by the state had come. Graduating high school, I was arranged to live with my grandparents. As a good Christian boy, of which I supposedly still was, according to my family, I was to assist them with living. For the most part, it was a calm life, but because of rent obligations and being unable to function in modern society, having missed most of it, it didn't come to a beneficial end. The one benefit of living with them was them allowing me to continue to do my religious studies. My grandmother, however, was unable to accept my sexuality. One time we got into an argument, and she kept saying I was attracted to boys. The way she said that triggered something in me, and so I asked her, "Grandma, say men." She was confused. "What?" she replied. "You keep saying I'm attracted to boys, but I'm not. I'm attracted to men. Say men." My grandmother just stared at me, stoic in her expression. I told her again to say men. She just shook her head. It was then I realized how much I hated her. We didn't talk for a few days afterwards, which gave me all the time to dive in my spiritual and New Age studies. I had acquired a book by Dr. Israel Regardie, The Teaching of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I had put aside reading it in favor of other books for a few weeks, and little did I know how much that book would change my life. I began practicing meditation and following some of the stuff in the book, the first degree stuff. I then made a white candle with random Nordic runes on it and meditated with it. Being called to take out the trash by my grandfather, I obeyed and went to start my chores. The moment I stepped outside, however, the floodgates of my soul burst forth and I began to see the world in a different light. This epiphany led me to understand the world, the gods, the planets, and how everything worked in harmony with one another. A cosmic design on such a grand order. So simple design, yet I had been ignorant of it for most of my life. The Egyptian gods, or the Netjeru, as I later learned they were called, unearthed this design before me, and I chastised myself for not understanding it before now. Anubis had been patiently calling out to me for some time, but I didn't want to listen. When I came back to, it was raining, and I was standing there soaked, my grandmother yelling at me. I quickly finished my chores and thought about what occurred. Moments later, I got a trash bag and threw out all my New Age material, completely focusing on Israel Regardie, Aleister Crowley, and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. While I did perform the rites and rituals for a couple of years, going all the way up to being able to perform the ritual of the hexagram, something was missing. At that time, I couldn't tell what it was. Off and on for the next few years, Anubis was there, guiding me and dropping hints of wisdom every so often. I was a devout follower of him. I had a small Japanese end table that I used to make prayers and offerings to the Netjeru. Eventually, this relationship took an interesting turn when Kansu, god of the moon and all-around badass, got involved in my life through a dream. Afterwards, I went about my day as usual, work and errands, until I realized that Kansu was the one I was supposed to follow in this life, and that Anubis had simply been prepping me for this. Since then, I have been a devout follower of the Lord of Offering and Protector of Children. That concludes this video. But before I leave, a note. While my experience with the gods may not be similar to the experiences others may have, it does not invalidate mine. I understand that there are people out there who view me as a dark person because of my ceremonial magic background. To be honest, I don't really understand why. A couple people in the forums I've visited have even said so. Regardless of the path you've taken to reach Netjeru, it's still your path. However, if you come to the path because of misguided nonsense, or frivolous political hogwash, or gender bullshit, kindly see yourself out. Again, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in my next video blog. Synepti. Oh, and since I'm assuming that the match is still going on, I'll let the video play out the match, and you guys can have fun at, you know, see me kicking ass.
unfortunate. Your team has destroyed our left enemy tower. Queen and country! On my way!
Hostile forces diminished.
Completed.
Astounding performance. Astounding performance. Clean kills.
What happens if you get up to no good?
An enemy has been slain. Contacting cleanup crew.
Your right tower is under attack. Fire giant!
Attack the Gold Fury!
All right!
Falling back!
Okay.
Careful! We could hurt someone with that. On my way!
Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower has been destroyed.
Now you will know.
Enemy missing! Wait!
I will protect you.
Your right tower is under attack. Your right tower has been destroyed.
Now you will know.
Help!
I will protect you.
Your right tower is under attack.
Double kill.
I see.
Triple kill.
Nice job.
Oh,
Astounding performance. The path
Watch
to
out.
victory is free of obstacles.
Attack left lane!
Attack right tower!
I will protect you.
Log the fire giant! spotted! Enemy missing middle! Enemy spotted!
Clean kill. Astounding performance. Triple kill.
Where you going? Over there!
Contact clean approved.
All right! No problem. Your team has destroyed a right enemy tower.
Be careful, middle.
Fire giant! Be right back. Group up.
I just love these! On my way!
Attack!
Okay. Be careful.
Cancel that. Cancel that.
Retreat! We need wards.
Ward here! Vex!
Unfortunate.
Keep an eye open for me, okay, cutie?
I'll attack the Gold Fury! Defend the Fire Giant! Defend the Fire Giant! I'll attack
Set
the
up
Gold
an ambush
Fury!
here.
Oh, my bad. I'll attack middle lane.
Contact and cleanup crew.
On my way!
Feeling of regret is the
Attack the
enemy.
middle Phoenix! Attack the middle Phoenix!
Okay.
I'll defend left lane!
Incoming news report. There's an unstoppable killer in the area.
Drag them into the depths.
Attack the middle Phoenix! Let's go!
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy phoenix. Attack fire giant. Yank left lane.
Incoming news report. There's
Completed.
an unstoppable killer in the area.
Ultimate is down.
Let's take him down! Go in!
Outstanding performance.
Unfortunate. Enemies at the fire giant. Cancel that. Let's take it down. Throw it in. Let's take it down. Throw it in.
I will protect you.
Requesting evac.
An enemy has been slain. Hostile forces diminished.
Your right tower is under attack.
Attack the Titan.